Hello, duelists. I wanted to do this quick little video. It should be uploading after round 4, match 6 for you, just showing who's in the top 8, the current records, and what deck lists they are on. So here we go. As you can see in this little table that I've created, green people are the ones that got to the top 8, and the bottom 6 are the ones that did not get to the top 8. So start a bit from the bottom, just give a quick review. Anthony C., it was basically his first time playing Yu-Gi-Oh! It makes kind of sense that he has the lowest match win rate. However, he did take 2 games off people, so we are all pretty proud of him for that. Next we have Noel, who went 0-2 in the previous tournament, and he went 0-3 in this one. Technically 1-3, because his last matchup was against Anthony C., and he dropped, but still, just can't find the right momentum there. Mark, our previous champion, is ending 12th place, which is not too good. He wasn't too happy with it. Granted, he's not too familiar with Edison. He looks forward to playing again in the tournaments once we play another older format or one that he played during. So he was not too happy about this one. He was much more comfortable on the Nordics. Dan, my usual partner in crime for commentary in that first tournament, also couldn't find his footing. I know that the Dark Gaia Turbo deck he was playing, I feel like never panned out too well, but that's just me. Now for the people that you could say bubbled, you had Rick here, who Rick honestly played fine, but he did get 0-3'd, I believe, by Adrian, which did not help with his record in the end. And sadly, he is actually just 1 game off of being in the top 8. Just a single game he would have had it. It's sad. Next, we have Roach, the People's Champion. Sadly, he'll be taking our 9th place, which is very disappointing in my eyes. It was all dependent on that previous match with Chris and Adrian, but what are you going to do? His rogue decks will be missed. Now cracking into our actual top list of players, I'll go through the records, but I have their decks below, actually, to just talk a little bit about them, see if there's any trends, really. We have Chris here finishing 2-2 with an overall record of 8-9. It's funny that his record's actually negative, which basically proves that you don't have to have a positive record, because we really just care about matches and then losses. But snuck in right over Roach in the end, and I feel like he's been pretty fun, besides him not doing the best on Ochamas. Granted, no one has. Next, we have the Dragon Duelist himself, Eric, going 8-8. Completely even record, 50-50. Dragons are pretty scary going into the top 8. I remember talking about who was going to make a run for it with some of the players, and a lot of people were thinking Eric might do it, just because dragons are scary, and if they turbo off, I mean, what can you do, really? Next, we have Brad, who we missed in round 4, but he was the highest rated 2-1 coming into this, so we knew he'd top 8, and he is our resident gladiator duelist. However, he's yet to play the deck, so we'll see if he gets to do so in top 8. Next, we have the most handsome duelist in the bunch, me. I was pretty happy with my record. My decks, I wouldn't change much about them. Frog combo was a little iffy, but hey, it ended up getting banned all the time, basically. So, can't complain with that. I was pretty happy with my play in this. We have Adrian here in 4th place, ended up going 3-1, which reminds me, I actually had a typo in the last video with Adrian and Chris. They were not 1-2. They were both 2-1, actually. It doesn't quite matter for the point of this, but that's why he's ending at 3-1 here. He was also a pretty solid player, even when he was trying to queue in Relinquished. I think, honestly, though, part of his success is that he had Gravekeepers queued up, which I'm not saying isn't a real deck, but people banned his Gravekeepers, I think, twice or 3 times, which led to him being able to play his superior decks, tier-wise, at least on our list. So I think that was very beneficial to him, honestly. Next, we have Anthony G., one of our premier deck builders, in my opinion, at least. He got top 3 in our previous tournament. So he was going 3-1. The one loss was to me. It was a very bad loss. I got super lucky. And he's also pretty happy with his performance here. He thinks all of his decks are pretty solid, even though I think he's found the 4 that he's sitting on. Next, we have Josh coming in the number 2 slot with 11 game wins, which is a little bit of a jump up from the others, which is very impressive. Him being our 2nd placer in the previous tournament, he's now 2nd place in Swiss, so he's happy with his performance as well. And lastly, we have Nico, our undefeated, although technically the last win was from not a drop, but a concession, you could say, having a 12-5 record, which would be 9-5 without the concession, but either way, still very happy with his performance, and he beat me, so must be something to it, right? Alright, let's look at their decks a little bit. I'm not going to go into the actual list, just what they were playing. We'll start from the bottom. Chris being on with his 4 main ones, I think going into the top 8 being Fairies, Quick Draw Plants, Hero Beat, and Diva Zombies. I think it's a solid list going into the top, especially because in our point rating, Diva Zombies we had as a tier 2 deck, which we think is Probably should have been a tier 1 deck now, thinking about it. Same with Hero Beat, honestly. And Fairies, too, debatably, so he is in good position to make a run for it. Eric, on the other hand, seems to be favoring... Here, let me do this. Seems to be favoring Disaster, Turbo, Norliras, and Chaos, pretty much running those back-to-back. And I mean, they're all scary Dragon decks, Norliras probably being the weakest of them because it's gimmicky. But if it makes a run for it, it does, and the game's probably over if he gets the effect off. Brad, on the other hand, being pretty comfortable on Frog Monarchs, Glads, Machina Gadgets, and Flamvell Sworn. He still doesn't play his Glads, which is what he's known for. So we're hoping that he'll get to do that in the rest of the tournament. Of note, Anthony G over here is a stark hater of Gladiator Beasts. He thinks they are not that good in Edison, and they should not be played at all. So, who knows, maybe that'll come to bite him in the end. We'll find out. As for myself, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be queuing up of these for Fairies, Norliras, Dragons, Quick Draw Plants, and Frog combo. I could see myself getting rid of Norliras for Diva Flip if I want to be a bit more consistent, but honestly, I just joined this tournament so I can make it an even number of people, and Norliras is a pretty fun gimmicky deck. Also another fun gimmicky deck, Frog combo. I don't think anyone's going to let me play it, just because of some of the turn 1 boards it makes is insane. And, I mean, Fairy should have been a tier 1 deck. This is fine. Quick Draw probably should have been a tier 1 deck. I'm feeling confident with what I've chose for this tournament. Adrian's been settled on pretty much Vayu Turbo, Machina Gadgets, Frog Monarchs, and Plant Dragons. He might also queue up Gravekeepers, depending. Hindsight, Vayu Turbo we had as a tier 1 deck. I still agree with that, of course, but I think Vayu Turbo is vastly better some of the other tier 1 decks, so anyone queuing Vayu Turbo I'm pretty confident in, honestly. Gadgets of Well have been a pretty good breakout deck for this tournament. Frog Monarchs, solid, and Plant Dragons, a little untapped potential, I feel. It's not amazing, but it's not bad. Dragons, when they pop off, they pop off. Anthony, our premier deck builder, has been on Diva Hero, Diva Zombies, Hero Beat, Flamvell Sworn. Flamvell, I would say, should have been a tier 2 deck, and Diva Zombies and Hero Beat should have been tier 1, probably, so I'm also pretty confident where he is, and with him making his own decks, knowing the nuances of them, he's primed to make a good run. Josh, our previous finalist, is on Lightsworn, Vayu Turbo, Glad Beasts, and X-Sabers, most likely. Not a big fan of the Glad Beasts, of course. I mean, a lot of people in this group aren't playing against them and thinking how good they are. But Lightsworn and Vayu Turbo, he had those extra points since he was a finalist in the previous tournament, and they've been paying off, I feel. Not so much for Mark, but Lightsworn and Vayu Turbo, two very strong decks that are very consistent. And lastly, we have our undefeated Nico, who's been running Lightsworn, Hero Beat, Machina Gadgets, and actually X-Sabers, not 6 Sams. Another solid choice, Hero Beat probably should have been tier 1, X-Sabers, I think they were good where they are, and Machina Gadgets, strong tier 2 choice. I think it's the best one that has been performing. You guys will get to see all of the decks and how well they performed once I finish this tournament. I'm going to upload another video describing what did well, what didn't do well, things along the lines of that. Yeah, this is our top 8. So I hope you enjoy watching. I'm sure the top 8 will get a lot more views than the other random Swiss rounds, but hey, you never know. Hopefully this video introduces you to the top 8 a bit, who's going to be playing in it, what decks they'll probably be on. And yeah, I think that's about it. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you enjoy the top 8. Have a good one, duelists.